Yep, I got the message.
On your Facebook, Bhaktivedanta Manor Facebook?
No, on Zoom.
Okay.
But I can check Facebook.
Yeah. Okay, it's got it. It's done.
Yeah.
Okay, let's roll this. Admit everyone. I'll press record. You need to press record then.
Yeah, I'll press record now.
You can admit everybody else in the room now. You can disable meeting room.
In 1974 in this country, we were all watching the TV, and everyone said, let's sit together and we'll watch the TV tonight. It was a Thursday night, and I said, all right, let's watch. And there was a program called Top of the Pops. And we were all watching this Top of the Pops. And in the Top of the Pops, then they said, now we have the number one single now. And it showed the devotees, all of them sitting, and they started chanting Hare Krishna, the Hare Krishna mantra. And I was mesmerized. I was watching that and I thought, wow, what is that? That's amazing. And I got very inspired. I saw that and I thought, Krishna speaking through these devotees. And they gave a little introduction, and then they sang the Maha Mantra. And I was thinking, wow. And I still remember it was a Thursday evening. Top of the Pops used to come on a Thursday evening. And they sang really nice. And then they had, I think there was a group of dancers called Pants People or something. They started dancing to the Maha Mantra. And I was watching that and I was thinking, wow, where is this all from? So that was my first memory of the devotees. I think coming to Krishna consciousness was the best thing in my life, because I realized that trying to enjoy life outside, it doesn't work. It's a fool's paradise, you know? You try very hard to enjoy, but it never works, and you're frustrated at the end. So I think coming to Krishna consciousness and giving Krishna consciousness to others has been the greatest thing. I think becoming Krishna consciousness is not the greatest thing, or the happiest thing even. I think when you start thinking out of the box and think, how can I give it to other people? That's when you become happy. And that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaks about. Jare dako tare kaho, Krishna upadesh, amara agyay guru, hane tare edesh. That we become happy when we give Krishna to others. We met Prabhupada. Whenever we met him, we have his mission, which is still there, and we have to carry on with that mission. And I believe our motto in life should be, we should give one life to Prabhupada. I think Prabhupada said that when he met Bhaktisiddhanta and Narendranath Malik and all of them, and he said, I decided that I want to give this one life to Prabhupada, or Bhaktisiddhanta at that time, because he realized it's the only thing that will work. And because Prabhupada gave that one life, that's why we're all here, otherwise we wouldn't be here. So I believe all of us have a real obligation to Prabhupada to do something for his mission, to do something amazing, to give Krishna consciousness to others, and give this one life. And what's there to lose? 3/4 of the life is gone anyway. You've only got a quarter left anyway. So not much to give.
Hare Krishna, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutaya, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinami, Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharani, Nirvase Sasunyavadi, Prasyata Deshatani, Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Panchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much for joining us today. We're very honored to have you for this auspicious occasion, to honor this extraordinary devotee, Srutidharma Prabhu, who served at Bhaktivedanta Manor selflessly for many, many years and was able to inspire the devotees. And he built the congregation, a huge congregation of supporters, and he also established rapport even with non-devotees. Many non-devotees today remember him very fondly and are missing him dearly, as all of us are. So we want to take this opportunity, it's the anniversary of his passing from our presence, to remember his qualities and his activities and to really relish those remembrances. So we're very honored with exalted guests to speak today. And we're fortunate we have a very good backup team, tech team. Sankirtan Priya Prabhu and Pradhan are helping us behind the scenes. Thank them very much. We're very honored to begin with Satchidananda Swami. He is here, please.
Hare Krishna. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you. We can't yet see you, though. There you are. Hare Krishna.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Paracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Bhaskatyade Satayane Vanchakalpataru Vaishya Kripa Shindu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Let me affectionately greet all of you who are on this call. I feel very privileged to be able to contribute a little talk of maybe 7 minutes or so to this memorial service. I can see many few exalted God brothers, and also God sister. But I see only Vishaka at the moment, but I see His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj. I'm very, very delighted to participate in this memorial service. Let me first of all share with you a very nice section from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which makes it clear why it is good to memorize or have a memorial service of those we love. There is a verse which says, when we talk about those whom we love, we become mindful of them. This word mindful expresses the best, in the best way, what is going on. Again, that person with whom we had personal interaction, whom we admired maybe, or and from whom we obtained so much inspiration. Again, that person, presence fills us. We become mindful of them, and they become present in some ways. I think we all felt when we saw this video of Srutidharma's motto, I believe, give one life to Srila Prabhupada. We felt how our mind was flooded with memories of Srutidharma, and he seemed to be not far away, but very close. So these memorial gatherings serve a very important function in that they bring the person who has departed from our external vision back, and we can communicate with him. This is important for disciples to be mindful of their spiritual master, and therefore we in our movement have a lot of books and programs whereby which we bring Prabhupada back to us, or let us say the memory of him back to us. And this is certainly also true with dear devotees like Srutidharma Prabhu. It's therefore a very important function which we are embarking on. We will actually invite Srutidharma Prabhu in our midst, and we will feel his closeness. A person like Srutidharma has many different facets to his personality. Just like a jewel which is cut in order to bring out the splendor which is inside. Great Vaishnava like Srutidharma has many sides and facets, and when we think of them, they bring out the splendor of his personality, or the essence of his personality, in a more real or perceivable way. I would like to share today two of my memories I have with Srutidharma, and I hope that it will be possible for me to show you how I saw Srutidharma Prabhu through my eyes, what I experienced in his presence, and this will maybe or hopefully make him a little bit more present. I think those of us who knew Srutidharma Prabhu personally know that there was really no person with whom he did not interact. If it was the Prime Minister of Great Britain, or people in this famous street, I forgot the name, was it Harley Davidson Street or something like this in London? If it was these high-ranking politicians, or if it was the guest who just came into Bhaktivedanta Manor and met him on the corridor. They all have very fond memories because he was just so personal with all types of beings. He did not distinguish between so-called important devotee and less important devotee. He shared his care, his attention, his wisdom in life with everyone according to how they were. When I met Srutidharma Prabhu, the first time, it was in a phase of my life where I would describe myself to my friends as a nectar hunter. So Srutidharma knew that, and he always had some nectar for me, some part of a rope which was used to pull Lord Jagannath's car. One day, one year when I came as a guest, he gave a little of the old body of Lord Jagannath he somehow was there for the Navakalevara ceremony, or he had his friends, his devotees who were close to him there. They brought this rare item, and throughout the years, whenever I met Srutidharma, he had something for me that was just relevant for me. I remember there was a time when I was not able to sleep, and I stayed up the whole night chanting, not because of any exalted Krishna consciousness, but I had sleep order disturbances. Somehow he knew about this, and he gave me a sleeping oil. I still have parts of he gave every year this sleeping oil, and I still have one bottle which I have not been able to use up. Now with this oil of Srutidharma, the sleep is very satisfactory. So with this little example, I want to say he somehow knew how to communicate with everyone on their level of interest, and he engaged with them. If it was an outsider or an insider, he was just so absolutely personal and so kind to everyone. And therefore, you find devotees all over the world who remember short incidences when they met him, and when he either told something deeply spiritual or something deeply witty, depending on the interest of the person, or when he made a present, or when he took care. This is an overriding quality of him. Krishna Chaitra Maharaj is staying with me for a few days, and I asked him, do you remember of Srutidharma? And the first thing which came to his mind was also, yes, first of all, he was a real gentleman, but then he was just so personal with everyone. There is a nice memory which Giriraj Maharaj shares about Srila Prabhupada, and I would like to share it with all of you because it so nicely brings out what Krishna might feel about a devotee like Srutidharma Prabhu. You know, when Mr. Sethi, when Prabhupada was acquiring the Mumbai project, it was a prolonged effort and even struggle at times until it became what it is now. And In the early days, it was quite difficult. So the early devotees who served on this project were often getting very ill from various tropical diseases, mosquito bites, yellow fever, and so on, because their accommodations were very poor. They slept on the bare ground. I heard the roof had holes, and when the famous monsoon rains of Mumbai struck, the water came through and made them wet. And then there was all this stress which came from the question, will this Mr. Nair pull another trick and do another atrocious movement to take the land back? So the devotees were not healthy. They often get sick. And then Prabhupada, seeing this, he requested one very nice builder who was really also a devotee, Mr. Sethi, to build accommodations for Srila, for his disciples. He said one day to Mr. Sethi, it's the duty of the spiritual master to provide accommodations for his disciples. And then he said, I quote verbatim, and just as you are building these rooms for my disciples here at Hare Krishna land, Lord Krishna is making your rooms ready in Krishna Loka. So Mr. Sethi felt unqualified for this blessing and said, I'm a sinful man. He replied, how can I go to Krishna Loka? And Srila Prabhupada assured him, that I will see to. This is not your duty. I will see that you will go to Krishna Loka. I believe that our Srutidharma Prabhu, who always took care of everyone, telling them some wisdom, some wittiness, or giving them a sleeping oil if he was a sleep-deprived devotee. He really served the devotees. And that's why everyone is so touched by him. And I believe that Krishna, who sees all of us and what we do and what we have been and what we think, and what we don't think, I believe Krishna recognizes such a devotee very, very much, and he takes care of him. Let me end with my second memory. In Srutidharma's last months with us, I used to visit him regularly. I heard that all the senior leaders of our movement who came to UK at that time would make it a point in their busy schedule to stay and spend time with Srutidharma Prabhu. A time which they felt was very worthwhile spent because they could express their affection for him. Now at the very last meeting, which was shortly before he left us, Srutidharma Prabhu did not clearly recognize me any longer. The illness had progressed so much that part of his, how do you say, perception of his outward environment was impaired. And there was a caretaker with him, a very nice men who was professionally trained in this, and then devotees who knew him. And one devotee who knew him would say, well, Srutidharma, this is Sachidananda Maharaj, trying to evoke a memory of Srutidharma. And in the very end, he was able to pass through the illness, and Srutidharma showed signs of recognition. I was later thinking about this, and in my mind, when I thought about it, I could see that Srutidharma Prabhu had already placed one foot, if you so want, or one part of his being into the eternal spiritual reality. He really looked like someone who was only physically here, but somehow his whole being was invested in another reality. And this was endearing for me. So I can only bring these two memories together, Srutidharma's kindness to everyone, and what I saw with my own eyes that seemed to confirm what Srila Prabhupada said, that Krishna had already made his rooms ready and he was already, so to say, inspecting his rooms maybe, or being in some way connected with that reality. We were able to depart or to embrace each other, and it was clear he was moving on, and I was very moved for a long time afterwards. I thank you very much. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and Srutidharma Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for that very moving and sobering remembrance. Last Monday, just a few days ago, Srutidharma Prabhu's ashes were immersed in the Ganges in Mayapur, and Shivaram Swami made a video of that, and he has already sent us that video, so we're going to see that now.
devotee, a real sadhu in the Krishna consciousness movement, because ultimately this is what ISKCON is about. It's not so much about the buildings, and it's not so much about all the projects, but that the end result of all of those things is that we produce pure devotees. So that, because we're telling everybody else that you can go back home, back to Godhead, and they want to know, are you going back to Godhead, are you going back to Godhead, are you a pure devotee? So we shouldn't be just pointing, oh yes, Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee. That's what they do in Christianity, going back 2,000 years to a pure devotee. We want to show how it's happening now, and Srutidharma is a good example of how it can happen. It can happen to you. You can be a grihasta, you can be a brahmachari, it doesn't matter. Kilavi prakivanasi shudra kirnino ye Krishna tattva shri. So everyone who's a surrendered devotee of Krishna, they can go back home, back to Godhead. Srutidharma Prabhu ki jai.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Shruti Prabhu's mantra to all of us in the ashram, Maharaj was explaining, he used to always tell us this famous line that you've given so many lives to Maya, now just give one life to Krishna and see what happens. So out of the many people that Srutidharma Prabhu told that to, Janakinath Prabhu was someone who took it up, and he joined, and he had no thought of doing anything else apart from serving Srila Prabhupada's movement and spreading Krishna consciousness. So their lives were so intertwined. Their lives were both based around service to others. Srutidharma Prabhu would say this life is meant for serving others. And so they both lived that. So Mahajano Yena Gata Sapantha, they're following the path of the Mahajans. Janakinath Prabhu is following Srutidharma Prabhu, and in that way they're walking to eternity with Krishna in the spiritual world. So it's a very difficult day, but a very glorious day as well. Very inspiring day for us to all try to imbibe the same spirit. His Grace Srutidharma Prabhu ki, Janakinath Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Rama
Hare Krishna. Thank you to Ram Swami and his team for that very moving video, the immersion of the ashes of this great soul into the Ganga in Mayapur. At Bhaktivedanta Manor, there was no one closer to Srutidharma Prabhu than his good friend for many, many years, Pranabandhu Prabhu. So we're very fortunate that we'll hear now from Pranabandhu Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvase Sashunyavadi Pasticha Desatarane Pancha Kalpa Taruvischa Kripa Sindhuvayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. I'm very honored and grateful for this opportunity to be with all of you on this day, the second anniversary of Srutidharma Prabhu's departure to the spiritual world. Shruti was a dear friend, brother, teammate, and a mentor to me. A natural devotee whose many wonderful qualities, examples, simplicity, dedication, compassion, commitment, serving others first. Such qualities were just very natural state of being for him. He didn't have to put on a show. And as such qualities, he attracted the hearts and minds of so many hundreds of devotees and friends worldwide. He lived his life in the service of others. I don't remember any service that Shruti couldn't do or didn't want to do, whether it was cleaning up the grounds or doing the pujari service, especially very early in the morning, waking Krishna up, whether it was the kitchens, giving lectures, speaking to kings and queens, members of parliament, billionaires, or just going on Sankirtan. The list is long. Shruti never said no to anything. Shruti Prabhu did not differentiate. There was no such thing as a higher service or a lower service. Service is absolute. He'd always say that. A great benediction for one's own purification, and he loved every bit of it. At every step, Shruti Prabhu set an example of a gentle devotee with immense faith in Guru and Krishna and steadfast dedication to Srila Prabhupada, a quality that he lived and he taught his entire life. Sadhana, Seva, and Sankirtan were the very foundation of his glorious life. As our acharyas say, Jivedoya, Namaruchi, and Vaishnava Seva. These are the ornaments of a sadhu, a Vaishnava, working always for the best welfare of others. Srutidharma Prabhu, you have left an incredible legacy, an indelible mark in the hearts of so many hundreds of devotees worldwide. Please bless us that we can remember your hard work and sacrifices. Please bless us that we can try to follow in your footsteps by encouraging and supporting each other to fulfill the many aspirations that you had for spreading Krishna consciousness. Even though the age of quarrel and hypocrisy doesn't make it easy. It has been my honor and privilege to have lived and laughed with you, argued and cried with you, worked through the days and nights with such a magnanimous soul, benevolent soul as you, Srutidharma Prabhu. Srutidharma Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for that very personal remembrance. We now turn to Guracharna Padma Devi Dasi and Kripa Moya Das.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. And as everyone has said, so honored to be in the association of all the wonderful Vaishnavas. Srutidharma is our focal, and he's brought us all together as a family. And just seeing how many beautiful Vaishnavas are here to honor him 2 years after his departure. I have to say, we still very, very much feel his presence at Bhaktivedanta Manor. I think, we walk around and we feel like he's just going to pop around the corner. His legacy is such that we feel his presence just kind of breathing on the walls of Bhaktivedanta Manor. So Srutidharma Prabhu was so many things to so many people. He had so many roles that he fulfilled. He was a mentor, role model, teacher, actor, and he was so brilliant at playing Srila Prabhupada. He was a friend to so many. He was a wonderful son, and his mother, of course, his mother also took initiation. He was a brother, because his brother, Mukesh Prabhu, still comes and does service at Bhaktivedanta Manor. So he brought his whole family along with him. A student, he was an eternal student of Srila Prabhupada, a wonderful father and husband, national and global ambassador for Bhaktivedanta Manor and ISKCON, and most importantly, just such a wonderful inspirational leader. Just a few things that stood out for me in his qualities of leadership. I used to love actually going for morning program, either to watch him offering arati to Radha Gokulananda, or also just to see him walking around. He'd always have his arm around one of the devotees, chatting or chanting, encouraging. It was just so beautiful to see. For me, he was just always somebody that you felt safe with. He had so much integrity. And even though he was our junior, we felt like he was our senior. We could lean on him. He was our well-wisher. We always felt like he wanted the best for us. He wasn't envious in any way. But he was just so expert at encouraging and empowering the devotees, no matter who they were and where they came from. He would see the qualities that they had, and he would see how to engage them so nicely in Srila Prabhupada's service. He was always leading from the front. It's such an example out in the fields at Janmashtami time, or going around and visiting all the wonderful volunteers who were serving. And he, completely absorbed in Srila Prabhupada's mission, of course. He was very straightforward and honest, and even though he was very spiritually elevated, he was also very down to earth and human. And I always remember one conversation I had with him. His mother wasn't well, and we were talking about how wonderful mothers are, and he had tears in his eyes. It was so beautiful. He was honoring and glorifying his mother. So he had such a heart. He was so personal that he made everyone feel as if they had a very close relationship with him. I think I remember Vishaka at the first memorial we had, she brought out this amazing quality that he had no enemies. He actually was loved by everyone. So, we talk about the 26 qualities of a devotee, but we can go on and on to glorify devotees ad infinitum, because they are just had so many wonderful qualities. So Srutidharma to us was our, I always say he was our guardian angel, but he was an uncle to my children, and he just was an unbelievable support and guide for us. I don't know if it's appropriate to say now, but I really hope and pray that, and maybe it's in the pipeline already, that there will be a suitable and proper and suitable memorial in his honor at Bhaktivedanta Manor, because of course so many devotees have served in incredible ways at Bhaktivedanta Manor, but Srutidharma served in such a way. His life is he's left such a legacy. He's a legend, really, Srutidharma Prabhu. So we are so it's so wonderful to come together, and I hope we can do this year on year to come together as a family and honor him. Unfortunately, my husband is not able to be here, but he's written something which I am going to read now. I spent the best part of my life with Shruti, one way or another, and over the 40 years that I knew him, I learned a lot. There was always some project on the go, some protest march, some festival, a new publication, a politician, or a bishop to shake hands with, or an idea whose time had come. The innovation would come from Shruti, of course, who would also instigate things, make sure they would happen, then pull me in and allow me to feel that I'd made a contribution, but it was really all him. We worked on publications such as the calendar, commemorative magazines, and booklets of various kinds. We walked and sang on Harinam together. We discussed serious topics at management meetings together, and then we laughed at the crazy philosophies that circulate in our community from time to time, and the eccentric personalities we had to deal with. Shruti had a bright mind, a compassionate spirit, unlimited energy for reaching out and involving people, and an ability to make the life of Krishna consciousness appealing and attractive. He could bring peace to a troubled situation, crack a joke at just the right time to change the mood in the room, and he always had the right analogy or story for any public speaking event. More than this, he always seemed to have an unlimited supply of snacks, which he distributed liberally, and novel gifts brought back from India. I well remember a piece of Mahaprasadam cloth that he brought me from the ancient Nishinga shrine, just next door to the Gandicha temple in Jagannath Puri. How did he know? Then there was the book by Bhaktivedanta Thakur I'd never seen before. How did he know? By a million kind gestures, helpful words, inspiring messages, and guidance that set members of our community back on track, Shruti created what is now known, revered, and loved the world over, this wonderful community of Bhaktivedanta Manor. If a community has a genetic code, then surely Shruti created most of it. We would not be sitting here as the devotees we are today without Shruti. When Srila Prabhupada was asked to say something about his spiritual master, he responded simply, "What can I say? He was a Vaikuntha man." In the same way, I might also say that Shruti was a Vaikuntha man. He heard the clarion call at an early age, responded with enthusiasm, made it his life's mission, and gently disappeared from our vision when Krishna called him home. I will always miss you, Shruti. You helped me in so many ways, and you will always be my friend. Please bless me from wherever you are and save me some snacks. Srutidharma Prabhu Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Such a powerful offering from both of you. Really appreciate. Well, Bhakti Rasamrita Swami wanted to be with us, but he's in India, so the timing was very inconvenient for him, but he did send a video. So we're very fortunate we can play the video now.
Hare Krishna. It is with great feeling that once again I embark on the difficult task of remembering Srutidharma Prabhu and everything that he did and stood for. He is one of those personalities who remains in our hearts always, despite his not being physically present amidst us. But he is present in our hearts in ways that perhaps we realize only after so much time has passed. 2 years have elapsed, and I don't think our remembrance of him has diminished from the time when he was physically in our midst as well. How can we forget the extraordinary services that he has rendered for our movement and specifically for the Bhaktivedanta Manor? The history of the Bhaktivedanta Manor is, of course, a very interesting and turbulent and exciting one. And many devotees have rendered super excellent services. And one must give heartfelt credit to them for where Bhaktivedanta Manor is today. I will not name the devotees because I fear to miss out some. I fear that I may miss out some names somewhere, and that will indeed be a great offense. But in this list of glorious devotees, surely Srutidharma Prabhu's name will be etched, very strongly. Is one of the very prominent devotees who have sustained this temple. He has been a steady presence there, like a solid rock for almost 4 or perhaps more than 4 decades. Been there always. His commitment, his dedication, being exemplary, relentless pursuit of service and responsibility. I mean, he's an example for us as to how one should be responsible for our services. We sometimes tend to take our responsibilities lightly, but he was so serious about his responsibilities. And he would go to great lengths to somehow or the other fulfill them in the best possible way. And despite the very stressful services that he always had that positive, vibrant look about him, that cheery greeting, those peals of laughter, and that warm hug, and of course his day-long availability for any kind of service. He had enormous concern for devotees individually and for the movement as a whole. And that is evidenced by the numerous discussions that I've had with him and the way I've seen him operate, over all these years. It's very hard to find devotees like him. It's not easy. The kind of stamina he had, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually, that required so much resilience to just be there day in and day out, just taking it, and giving oneself up for that service, for the sake of the mission. These are qualities that are extremely rare to find. And of course, as someone I consider as a very dear friend, as I mentioned in the earlier memorial functions also, that I will certainly miss him very much, as I'm sure many others will do. And also his ashes are now being immersed in the Jalangi in Mayapur. So we're very happy that that has finally been accomplished now. Because of COVID, there were so many problems, we couldn't do that. So I wish I had been able to be present in Mayapur for this, but unfortunately that's not happened. But I pray to Srutidharma Prabhu that he may forever remain in my heart and continue to inspire me and enable me to do a small portion of what he has done. Srutidharma Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Maharaj. From this chorus of exalted devotees who have spoken and who will speak, we get just a glimpse of the extraordinary qualities of Srutidharma Prabhu, as well as his activities. So we'll hear now, we're fortunate, we'll hear from Akandati Prabhu, my god brother, who had Srutidharma Prabhu's association also for many, many years.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Vishaka Prabhu. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhibhya patitanam bhavanyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. First of all, my thanks to all the devotees, to Shri Radhika, Nitai, and all the family, and everyone involved in setting up this memorial and giving us this chance to remember and immerse ourselves in the incredible qualities and pastimes of Srutidharma Prabhu. I think we're all moved by the particular qualities that Shruti demonstrated. He exemplified kind of every aspect of what we know to be the symptoms of a very sincere, dedicated devotee and disciple. He's like the six Goswamis in that Dira Dira Janapriyo Priyakaro, that he was dear to everyone, whether they were the gentle or the ruffian. He was a touchstone when he everyone's life that he came in contact with, he made a difference to them. And that difference was that he that people kind of thought Krishna consciousness is beautiful. Krishna consciousness is wonderful. If this is the quality of this devotee, if this is what it means to have a devotee as a friend and a mentor, then Krishna consciousness is possible for me. And I think I benefited so much from having Shruti's association over all these years. I was lucky to meet him before he joined the temple, and even that was amazing, because it wasn't that we helped him become a devotee. He was already a devotee in heart, but it was just wonderful to be there, seeing his passage into the temple and the way he took up every service enthusiastically, determined, and without any kind of self-centered consideration or motivation, just threw himself into the service and did whatever was necessary. And those have been described by so many devotees. He affected people. And I remember when David Cameron came to the temple, Shruti had said something to him. It was one of Shruti's little epithets, one of his sutras, which he was very expert at. And David Cameron, caught it. And when he gave his general speech, which was probably scripted, but he ad-libbed the bit that Shruti had told him, where he said, "I've just learned something new today. If you want to have peace outside, you have to find peace inside." So one little thing that was taken away. And those of us who are at the public inquiry for the access road will remember the inspector, Mr. Hanchett, who was a nice guy, but he was there to be neutral. He wasn't to give any indication that he favored one side or the other. He wasn't shown to be partial. But no one could ignore the fact that whenever he had any contact with Shruti, because Shruti was running around doing various things, helping to bring boxes and, to help the defense, our case. Whenever Shruti would do something, or whenever Hanchett had to ask him, it's like he lit up seeing this. So Shruti was kind of like the teacher's pet there at the public inquiry. It was just his nature to create that kind of mood. And I've said it before, and it's worth repeating, that in all those years of the difficulties of the Manor campaign, I leaned so much on the friendship that I had with Shruti and with Pranabandhu. Those two together, you know, the twin incarnations of preaching at Bhaktivedanta Manor, gave so much help and support to me over those years. So I remain always in their gratitude. Of all the services that he did, we've heard a list, whether it's from acting, you know, his dedication to the morning program, doing offering arti in the temple, his management, his way of preaching, I think the most important service that he did is actually the most important service in our movement, and that is holding devotees together. We are a confederation of many brilliant, talented, intelligent devotees with desperate, you know, deep, sincere desire to serve Srila Prabhupada. And holding that energy together in this movement is so difficult. It is inevitable that there will be collisions and disputes over what is the priority, what can be done, and you know how to move ahead with things. But Shruti was one of those key devotees who could hold the devotees together, who could hold their energy, who could keep us united, keep us in harmony. And I don't think there is any service more dear to Krishna and Srila Prabhupada in the movement than the devotee who can do that and maintain the harmony, maintain that family, community spirit, so we all work together. And his departure has left a huge hole for us and given us an incredible challenge of how to meet those standards, meet that expectation that he would have of us without his personal presence coming to put his arm around us, to encourage us, to give us a little gift or whatever it was, just a few words of something to keep us going and to keep us focused and to stop us from becoming too agitated, too disturbed, too worried about anything. That's a huge gap that he has to, that we're going to have to find strength for amongst ourselves. And glorifying and remember Shruti in these sort of situations is certainly a major help. We talk about aspiring to go back to Godhead, to be back there with Krishna and all the devotees engaged in the spiritual world. But that's such a hard aspiration for us. We read the Bhagavatam, we read Krishna book, we try to understand what the spiritual world might be like, what the emotions might be like, but it's very hard to deeply and authentically desire that that's the destination we want for ourselves because of our conditioning, because we're attached to what we know in this world. But if we think, I can aspire to want to continue service with particular devotees, I would love to continue service with Srutidharma. That I can aspire to. That I can know is authentic. I can mean that from the bottom of my heart. Please, Krishna, please, Srila Prabhupada, allow me the opportunity to continue service, not just in this life, but in future lives, in the association of Srutidharma as we all serve you together. So that is my prayer tonight. And Shruti was the expert at remembering all the devotees' names and what they've done. And we're also begging him, please remember us to Srila Prabhupada. Srutidharma Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for keeping us focused on what's really important, that we all work together as one voice for Srila Prabhupada. So the devotees mentioned that one of the many activities that Srutidharma Prabhu did, one of the many services, is acting. So we have a short film showing his very great talent in acting. Perhaps you're having some technical troubles. We have that film ready. Sankirtan Priya Prabhu, should we go on to the speaker next, or will the video be coming? Okay, we're having a little technical trouble with the video, so excuse us, forgive us for that. We turn to a very exalted guest that we have tonight. We're very honored to have him with us, Raghunath Swami. Please unmute, Maharaj. Please unmute.
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyata Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. I am sincerely grateful to be here for this most important and sacred ceremony where we have come together to honor Srutidharma Prabhu, his service, his love for the world and for each of us, and our love for him. I was sincerely moved by everything that all of our exalted speakers have already said. And what I found so special about these offerings is many of the devotees were glorifying the same qualities of Srutidharma Prabhu. So consistent. Qualities that are the most essential and holy qualities of a Vaishnava. You know, what is at the heart of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and what is at the heart of Srila Prabhupada's teachings is the qualities of a true devotee. Srutidharma Prabhu truly, exquisitely personified these qualities. And how each of the devotees that spoke today were glorifying those same qualities from their own personal, unique perspective. it's like each devotee who spoke, and we're speaking many of the most exalted devotees in the world, they are glorifying with such love Srutidharma Prabhu. They're all speaking the same qualities about him, one after another, yet each quality sounds so completely unique and new, coming from that particular devotee's perspective and appreciation. How Srutidharma Prabhu has deeply affected our hearts. I feel so humbled and worthless after hearing the appreciations that have already been extolled about Srutidharma Prabhu. He was truly, genuinely humble, yet totally fearless, courageous. He was so gentle, yet ferociously determined. He was very, very patient, and when the need was there, he was totally decisive. He was so broad-minded that everybody, whoever they may be, from any community inside or outside of our movement, felt embraced by him, accepted by him, and loved by him. He was so broad-minded, yet he was like a laser beam focus on his goal of life, which was Braja Bhakti, the eternal loving service of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. He could give his heart and touch the heart of the Queen of England, the Prime Minister of the UK, or an orphan child in the same way. He was so soft-hearted, yet he was like a solid rock mountain in his steadiness. He was so simple, yet he could effectively deal with the most complicated issues. Whether he was with brahmacharis or multi-billionaires, he was just everyone's friend. And everyone considered him a best friend. When I came to England, from the first time I came as a devotee, Srutidharma Prabhu kind of just took me into his heart and gave me shelter. And since that time, every single visit I've had to India, I've just taken shelter of both Srutidharma Prabhu and Pranabandhu Prabhu. They were practically always at the airport waiting for me, sometimes at very odd hours of the day, and sometimes at times when they had very, very important responsibilities. And just knowing that they would be there totally elated my heart. I had such anticipation and expectation that Srutidharma Prabhu and Pranabandhu Prabhu are going to just be there with their smiles. And they just gave me shelter. They drive me in their car and bring me to the home of Gauri Prabhu and Madhavi Devi, and they gave shelter as far as their friendship and a place to stay. Srutidharma Prabhu, the way he engaged me in services, I learned so much from. I would just come to London to serve him. And I must say, since Srutidharma Prabhu departed from the world, I haven't yet been back to London. I was just there to serve him, to assist him, and to learn from him. Because he cared so genuinely about everyone. And he had such a broad spectrum of people he cared about. He would try to arrange specialized programs for Srila Prabhupada disciples, for brahmacharis, for grihastas, for gurukulis, for the Indian communities, for the patron council, and then he would, bring me to the parliament, and he would bring me to people's homes. He would bring me to colleges and corporations, and then he'd have me give a class at Bhaktivedanta Manor, and he would be dancing, and I was like his puppet. He cared about everybody, and it was my life and soul in London just to try to assist him in how he cared about everybody. And the trueness of how he cared about everybody. He was so considerate of people's feelings and, where they were coming from and what they were dealing with. At the same time, he was so focused on enthusing people on the path of devotional service and inspiring faith in Srila Prabhupada's mission and the mission of Bhaktivedanta Manor. Srutidharma, as has been said by everybody, he was the devotee that Srila Prabhupada wanted to manifest from our movement. And he was a light in all of our hearts. And when it came to the time when he was being called from this world and his body was breaking down in so many ways, whenever I would go to see him, whenever anyone went to see him, the only thing he did was express gratitude. It seemed to me that he forgot everything in creation except his gratitude to each devotee and his gratitude to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. That's who he always was, and that's who he will forever be in our hearts. To his family, to his friends, and to all the community of Bhaktivedanta Manor, I bow my head at the feet of all of you because you are all so very, very dear to Srutidharma Prabhu. Thank you very much.
You're on mute.
Thank you for that powerful remembrance, bringing Shruti to our presence through your words, your potent words. We did find the film of Shruti involved in dramas, several devotees mentioned how he would like to act, and he was quite an accomplished actor. So we'll play that for you now.
Duryodhana, how would you like to acquire all that wealth in one big swoop? I like you. I want you to be the king. You should be the next ruler of this planet after your father. Not that Yudhishthira. He likes to play dice. But you know what? He doesn't know how to play. Nah, Ambarish Maharaj.
Durvasa Muni, we are indeed honored by your presence.
Yes, yes. As it is the duty of Brahmins to travel and enlighten the entangled householders, I decided to pay you a visit.
It is our pleasure. Please, be seated. Let us serve you.
Now I will teach you a lesson you will never forget! There is no record of any incarnation appearing in Kali Yuga in any shastra. But you have not said anything. Why have you remained quiet? Vedanta is very difficult subject matters. Only great scholars like myself understand the conclusion of Vedanta. But at least you could have said so. I could have explained further.
God, Khuda, He gives the most to the person who gives Him the most.
Good point. Good point. Whatever I have, whatever I receive, it is because of my hard work.
Huh? Anand Babu, you are making me unemployed. But Anand, we are friends. I see. When a man gets money and power, everything changes.
Dear Lord Krishna, let me die immediately. Now that my mind is fixed upon your lotus feet, because at other times my throat may be choked up and I will not be able to think of you.
Hare Krishna. Very talented devotee in so many ways. So we ask now for Tiny Tai Prabhu to speak. Fortunate to have him with us, and he was temple president in Soho for so many years, working closely with Srutidharma.
Hare Krishna Vishaka Prabhu, thank you so much. Om Gyanatimanandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshru Militangena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. I feel very honored and privileged to be here. Such an august assembly of exalted Vaishnavas glorifying Srutidharma Prabhu. Somehow I feel that disqualified very much to speak, and very happy to hear from everyone else, and also to see, I'd love to see more of his drama performances. That was incredibly talented. You can see he really lives the role. Just listening to all the devotees, I was thinking the encounters that I had with Srutidharma Prabhu, and I guess I really picked up on what Akandadi Prabhu said, and I really appreciated this spirit of creating the community and holding the Vaishnavas and the devotees together. And I was thinking how much he did that with me, and very much in the early days. Of course, being situated primarily at ISKCON London and Soho Street. But somehow Srutidharma Prabhu picked up on me quite early, and I was a recipient of a lot of his mercy and blessings, and he was instrumental in introducing me to my beloved spiritual master, and was always eager to encourage. I always found Srutidharma Prabhu so encouraging, and I've heard this from many devotees, that as His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was explaining, it's like everyone had these such individual and personal relationships with Srutidharma Prabhu. And later when I've discussed with different devotees, it was like he was there full time for everyone. He was a full-time friend for everybody. I felt like I could pick up the phone at any time. I could send him a text message with any question about something that was concerning or some management issue, and within a matter of moments he would respond, or he'd call me on the phone, and he would just be there. He would just be there for me. And I feel like it was also Srutidharma Prabhu was instrumental in helping to generate and create what was, at least in the time that I've been around, a very symbiotic relationship, working relationship also with ISKCON London. And we had a lot of time together. I've often told that we used to try to meet at least every couple of weeks, and we would meet, I think, in the room that you're in, Mother Vishaka. You're in the temple president's office, and we would meet there, and we would we would just take time to talk about the stresses of the service and the difficulties. And we used to talk about the difficulty of trying to sometimes get out of the temple. Many devotees are fighting to get into the temple. Sometimes we would just be fighting to get out of the temple at the end of the day. And Shruti Prabhu used to tell how for him it was the parking lot. He would say, I would make it all the way to the parking lot, and then I'd hear a devotee say, "Oh, Shruti Prabhu," he said, and I'd be in the parking lot for another 45 minutes to an hour talking with someone, and that was his nature. He would just completely give himself to whomever he was with. And I forget who, maybe it was Mother Guru who said earlier, maybe reading Kripamoya Prabhu's quote, someone said that he didn't have any enemies. And it was true. Even holding such position in service and management, and he just always dealt with everyone as such a Vaishnava would deal with anyone, despite whatever awkward situations were there going on within, behind the scenes, you could say, within the management. But he was just always such a Vaishnava, and I really felt like I learned so much from Srutidharma Prabhu. I wish I had been able to get more of his association and imbibe more of his mood. I still have so much to learn. But as my Guru Maharaj, Radhanath Maharaj, was saying, and I was fortunate to be there once or twice with Srutidharma Prabhu in his final days, and what really stood out to me was that his heart was just simply saturated with gratitude. It was just amazing to see how much gratitude he had for anyone and everyone. And I remember he just kept saying, I'm simply your servant. I'm simply the servant. And I was thinking how at the end of one's life, people become worried about so many things, distracted by so many insignificant, useless things. And he was just completely saturated in this mood of gratitude, and you could just see that this is a successful life. He had such a successful life, and we can see by all the devotees who've gathered here this evening that how loved he was and still is in the community. And also I think it was a Kandadi Prabhu maybe was saying that, yeah, it's as if I still feel like I'm going to show up at the manor and he's going to be there. It's this weird feeling. It's like, he's still there. He's still permeating the atmosphere. And I was just talking about him yesterday actually with one devotee how, you know, I was learning so much from Shruti Prabhu. I used to, you know, would go to weddings, devotees would have weddings, and I would go and sit through the whole wedding just to go up at the end to say congratulations, you know, and be gracious. And Shruti Prabhu would show up like 5 minutes before you know, the end of the program. He'd present a gift, he'd give his blessings, he'd say a little something to everyone, and they'd think, oh, he's been here the whole time. And he had just showed up 5 minutes before, and he would say the most remarkable thing, and everyone would laugh and be like, oh, and you just feel like, God, Shruti Prabhu, it's like you've been here for hours and you just showed up. Then I would say, where are you going? Because he would leave, and he would just leave and go off to another program. And he would do back-to-back programs like that. But his nature and his love and his demeanor and his gratefulness and life is just that he would, wherever he was such a huge personality. Although his body was kind of small in stature, but he was such a huge, huge person. And yeah, I really miss Srutidharma Prabhu, and I feel very honored and grateful to be here with all of the devotees and to hear his glories. And I also hope that somehow we're able to create some sort of a memorial there for Srutidharma Prabhu, a nice place to go and really offer our respects and memory of him. Of course, we can do that anywhere, but he's very, very special. So at least he has been in my life, and I'm very grateful. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your heartfelt offering. Very grateful. We turn now to Krishna Purna Devi Dasi, who also had the association with Srutidharma Prabhu for many, many years.
Namo Shivaya Krishna Vasaya Putalishamda Bhaktivedanta Manor Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravana Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Prascharya Adishadari. I was wondering what to say because I've spoken last 2 times. Then I thought, let me speak about 26 qualities of Vaishnava, some of them. But Mother Guru picked up a few. But hopefully I am doing something different. But before I go to the 26 qualities, just one thing, when Janmashtami comes, it's like, becomes a mega thing in the head. Because Shruti Prabhu was there. He would go from one team, speak to them for a while, he'll help them a little bit. Then next minute he will move on. So he would inspiring all these volunteers who would come to the temple. So as Chaitanya Prabhu said, from car park, he goes from the temple to the car park and 45 minutes he's talking to different people. So this was situation for Srutidharma Prabhu, talking to everybody and obviously coming to know them and they coming to know Shruti Prabhu. So that was very admirable for me that he was very personal. I knew people's names, their families, their children, and it's amazing that how he had that relationship with everybody. And when we all are eating at night, so Janmashtami is the time when we would try to cook nice prasadam for all the volunteers. So volunteers will come in dribs and drabs, but Shruti Prabhu would come at the end. And he'll make sure everybody's eaten, and he will eat. Whoever's at the end, he will sit down with them and eat. So make sure everybody's taken prasadam, and he will just make sure they've eaten. Their service was pleasurable, everything. So he's spending quality time with them at the end of the day. And once I think some volunteers, some devotees complained to me. Every day we would have a sweet, and that was limelight. So a few devotees said, "Please, Krishnamurti, don't stop making these sweets. It's too much." So once I thought, okay, I have to listen to all the sides. So I stopped asking the groups who were cooking to make sweets. And Shruti Prabhu said, why have you stopped? So I told him, I said, like, some devotees are complaining, it's too much endeavor and things like that. And Shruti Prabhu said, no, because actually he also used to love sweets, but that's one thing. Him loving sweet is not important, but he wanted everybody to enjoy the sweets. That, like, you come here, you've had a hard work outside, and then come here, do seva. So have a like nice nourished meal, like, enjoyable, and with the sweet. So, like, in that sense, he was so, like, caring, that, yes, look after you. And so that was one of the things which always, like, I would remember, because we would be the last one to eat. Obviously, Shruti Prabhu would be there, and us. And also leaving, like, generally we all would leave at the end when everybody, like, everybody's left. He would be one of the last person to leave. So, like, he was setting an example that, yes, I'm leading, but I'm leading in a way whereby, everybody can appreciate, everybody can be, can remember. So that's Janmashtami. Also, like, for one thing which I was just before I started talking, which I just remembered, I was invited to 10 Downing Street at, I think, 2010 as a volunteer coordinator. So I Srutidharma Prabhu, myself, we traveled in the train to 10 Downing Street for, I think it was Diwali program. And I'm a little shy person. If I know somebody, then I'll talk. But when I went there, I was like, okay, I don't know anybody there. So I was just like, just walking, standing on one side. At one point, he pulled me. He said, Krishna, come. Let me introduce you to David Cameron. At the time, he was there. So I went along, and like Shruti, there were so many other people who wanted to speak to him. But Shruti, like, come on, Krishna Puna, he tried to introduce me to David Cameron, and telling him, like, I look after a certain number of volunteers and things like that. So he was making me feel important. I felt I just went there because I was let me go and see 10 Downing Street. But for Shruti Prabhu, it was like, yes, you are important, and like, give some glory to you. Me, I'm like, okay, background. But yeah, for him, it was important that he introduced me and made me feel good about it. So he was always like that, make everybody else feel important as well. Anyway, I'll go to some of the qualities of Vaishnava. Srutidharma Prabhu used to like all these samosas, kachoris, uttapam, and things like that. I don't know if any of you remember. So, like, when he used to come home, if there is something on the table, he'll, like, picking. He had a habit of, like, just taking tiny and picking. But he had a very balanced diet. He was a balanced eater. He liked all this snacky food, but he would eat little. I can't remember him ever, full, his tummy would be totally full and, like, beyond, like, comfort or anything. He would eat what's enough for him. So, and you can see from his body, he was like, always, I can't remember him ever putting on weight. Always, like, slim personality. Charitable as well. When we, obviously, I have spent time with him. I think most of the patron trip we used to have, I went with, obviously, devotees. And when we used to go to temples, and I've seen some of us might put like few rupees in the charity box in the temples, but Shruti would always be generous and put quite a lot. So and one can see he wasn't like earning such a huge wages or anything, but his heart was very charitable. For me, it was very appealing that, like, somebody who is so generous, even though he's not earning so much. For devotees, anybody could approach him. So he was equal to all, like somebody who might have known 30 years, somebody 5 years, somebody 10 years. But he would actually treat everybody equally. He would give his time to every person who actually wanted to see him. At no point he would say, I'm busy, I don't have time. And regarding that funny, I think sometimes he would, during the day, if I would see him, I said, he would say, I've got some rounds left. So I would say, Shruti Prabhu, but you went to Mangal Aarti. And he would say, you know, Krishna Purna, my 2 hours in Mangal Aarti were ended in talking to people, devotees, because he would start chanting and some devotee will come and spend some time, and then next minute another devotee come. So I said, I haven't been able to chant my rounds because, you know, devotees kept me busy. So he would give his time. Obviously for all of us, chanting is the most important thing, but he somehow kept aside because everybody wants to talk to him. Devotees wants his time, and he's not neglecting it. He knows they need some time for whatever reason. We all needed some of his Shruti's time, so he would give that time. Friendly, like following that, he was friendly to everybody, whether they were young, old. I remember, like, you know, even with my kids, he spent a lot of times when they used to come to our house with the children. He would talk to them, you know, find out what they're up to, and also with congregational members, you know, children, he would spend time. I remember after Shruti Prabhu left his body, my daughter-in-law Bharti had a photo of her daughter. Shruti was holding her daughter when she was 6 months old for Annaprasan ceremony. So like they, and also my Ushma's son, just after, and they also treasured Shruti Prabhu's photo with their children, because for us, our family, he had a huge impact, because obviously since we started coming, he's been there since 82. Obviously Akhanda Prabhu has been there from the beginning, and Pranam, the 3 of them have been there for us, our family. Grave Shruti Prabhu, I find, was very grave after he was diagnosed. I would see sometimes I spend some time with him, he actually would be very quiet, and you could see like in totally, you know, introspective, and like, you know, he would be very thoughtful. So that quality I saw at a later stage of his life. And now again, coming back to respectful, he is like, you know, respected, old, young. It doesn't matter whether they were devotees or not. In fact, even if they weren't devotees, he would try to encourage them. Come to the temple, you know, a little bit of some association he would give, whereby, you know, even a stranger will appreciate his time, his kindness, his compassion. And I'm sure a lot of devotees probably came because of all of Shruti Prabhu's qualities. And for us, we came because of, you know, him giving us constant time, spending a lot of time with us. I mean, I can go on, but like there are so many other qualities which Shruti Prabhu had, 26 qualities. So all glories to Shruti Prabhu. And as I think most of devotees have spoken, that they'll miss him. And he had a stamp, he marked that, yes, it does make a difference. When you are kind, when you're compassionate, people will remember you. And obviously, I was listening to His Holiness Shivarama's video from India, that, like, you know, it's real. One can go back home in this life. So all glories to Srutidharma Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Now we'll have a video of Srutidharma Prabhu at festivals, and that will be followed by remembrance by Sutapa Das, who is overseas, and is just now in Africa, but he sent us this video for this occasion.
well I drank from has run dry. The riverbed has moved over years. Cell phones ring instead of bells. The sacred hill has almost disappeared.
Prayers and ashes at the river's edge, drifting side by side. Sun rises over new hotels, sages close their eyes.
My heart flows like a river to the sea. May it always be.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. His Grace Srutidharma Prabhu ki jai, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We just returned from Sridham Mayapur, where we had a beautiful ceremony, a beautiful gathering in which we dispersed the ashes of Srutidharma Prabhu into the sacred Ganga. Many Vaishnavas had come for the ceremony, sannyasis, long life associates, friends, admirers, disciples, family, and we remembered on that day that with the undeniable passing of time, the elements of the body must eventually merge back into Mother Earth. But the spirit, the memories, the lessons, the inspiration that we drew from that spirit soul, those continue on eternally. And so naturally it was a day in which we were thinking, meditating on the different lessons we learned from Shruti Prabhu. Somehow on that day, one thing kept coming to mind, something Shruti Prabhu used to call the everyday principle. And he used to say that Krishna consciousness is not difficult, but the difficulty is to apply yourself every single day, to wake up in the morning and give the day to Krishna, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, decade after decade. And he was really the shining example of that. He used to say to me, and maybe to others, when the alarm clock goes off in the morning, get up, dress up, and show up. This is the most important work in the world. And so he was like that, just a relentless dedication. He turned up every single day on top form, ready to do whatever was needed. He never became frustrated or fatigued. He never thought of giving up or throwing in the towel. He never reduced his vision of what Krishna consciousness could be. He just kept doing it every single day. And now we can see that when one lives the everyday principle of Krishna consciousness, how beautiful their life becomes. So he was a living example. The Shastra says, Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena katasa pantha. That you don't just learn Dharma by reading books, but ultimately Dharmasya tattvam, the truths of Dharma, nihitam guhayam, are hidden within the hearts of the Vaishnavas. Mahajano Yena Gata Sapantha, and therefore one must walk the path of the Vaishnavas. So we're trying to walk with Shruti Prabhu. He may not be with us physically, but we can walk with him. It's so difficult. One devotee said on the day when Shruti Prabhu left, along with his disappearance, a piece of my heart also disappeared. So it feels like that. But we can still walk with Shruti Prabhu. On the same day as dispersing the ashes of Shruti Prabhu, we also disperse the ashes of Janaki Nath Prabhu. And I was thinking that just like Srutidharma Prabhu followed the path of Srila Prabhupada and his followers, Janaki Nath Prabhu followed the path of Shruti Prabhu, who told him, as he told many, give one life to Krishna. And Janaki Nath Prabhu did it. Shruti Prabhu's life was successful, Janaki Nath Prabhu's life was successful, and on that day we remembered that if we follow Mahajano Yena Gata Sapantha, then our life will also become successful. This is the greatest opportunity. So we feel so fortunate that the saints are there in our lives, and we'll never forget them. But we have to do more than just remember them. We have to bring about a deeper sense of their presence by not just remembering them, but by actively following them. That was my prayer on this beautiful day. His Grace Srutidharma Prabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. So we come to the close of our program now. We turn to our Managing Director at Bhaktivedanta Manor, Nilamadhava Prabhu, for thank yous and some final remembrances of Srutidharma Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Mancha kalpatruvasya kripa sindhu bhayavacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Dear Srutidharma Prabhu, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to your grace. It's now been 4 years and 6 days since life at the manor changed. When we were officially notified of your illness. The first 2 years were difficult. However, we were still fortunate to have your Vapu with us. But now your Vani prevails. For us as a family, we constantly meditate and contemplate upon the time we spent with you. Every single day, we remember the precious occasions of being together with you. There are many memories of challenging times to pleasing moments of joy and laughter. A very unique time for us was when Gauranga Das was born at Watford General. Both yourself and Pranamandu Prabhu were the very first personalities he took darshan of. Shruti Prabhu, the past year has certainly been exceptionally challenging, to say the least. The rate at which our Bhaktivedanta Manor is expanding is quite phenomenal. And with that expansion brings and comes turbulent and uncomfortable experiences. However, the inevitable growth also brings with it a sense of content achievement. During troubled situations, we naturally think of you and pray to you for guidance and solace. During accomplished times, we thank you and think of you being pleased with us. at functions, events, and programs. Your presence is mostly and truly missed. In the coming 4 weeks, we have scheduled 4 gratitude events for the Haveli, beginning tomorrow with the appreciation of devotees, and naturally your presence shall acutely be missed, even though in Vani you remain with us. To end with, let us report to you that the preparations for next year's 50th anniversary have already begun with immense enthusiasm. And to sign off with a quote from Srila Prabhupada, it is better service to Krishna and spiritual master in a feeling of separation. Sometimes there is risk in a matter of direct service. This was a letter to Madhusudan Das on the 30th of December, 1967. Your eternal servants, Nilamadhava Das, Haripriya Devi Dasi, and Gauranga Das. Prabhu's, yes, certainly towards the latter part and the end of Srutidharma Prabhu's time with us, past times, his mantra became thank you. He may have been oblivious to everything else, but anything and everyone and anywhere, to anyone, thank you, thank you. That was his mantra. So to end with this, our very precious memorial, to end with, on behalf of all the devotees at Bhaktivedanta Manor, we thank you for joining us this evening. And we look forward to more years in memorial of His grace, Srutidharma Prabhu. Ki Jai. Thank you.
Our final video is of Srutidharma Prabhu at the Manor. Thank you all so much for joining us. We feel very blessed to have your company. And thank you especially to all the speakers who spoke so movingly about Srutidharma Prabhu and really evoked his presence among us. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhu. that ends our program tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. All glories to Srutidharma, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Vishaka. Thank you to all the devotees.